I'm an illustrator from the UK. I tend to specialise in a lot of character design and sort of story-based illustration and bright colours.
Mm. So you might have missed that for a little bit. Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, you might have missed that for a little bit, streamers, because of my sound. But yeah, hey everyone, this is a cross between a elephant and a Maccaw, which is a bird, in case you don't know. Yeah, it's just more process, and we've got FionaCreates in today. I showed you guys my work just before. Cool. So you've been on DeviantArt for 10 years, it says. So have you always been an artist since then, or when you just joined, were you just?
Yeah, well, I can't remember a time when I didn't draw, and I had been online posting artwork in forums and stuff because I had a very slow internet connection, so I couldn't have a DeviantArt for a long time. And then as we got a better internet connection, I was like, finally I can join this amazing thing that I can actually talk to people and stuff about art. And I had a different account before the current one. And I actually switched because I did a lot of pixel art, so the current account I'm on was originally just for my pixel art, but I ended up getting way more attention for that and just started posting artwork through that one because my old one had a horrifically teenage name, so I stuck to this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been 10 years or whatever it tells, because I think it's been about 12 since I was on DeviantArt, but 10 on this account. That's the one I care about now.
Awesome. Yeah, we all start out with those, tag names and things like. I remember hearing about. Have you ever heard the term Black Frog? He's a artist from conceptart.org. I didn't really, because when I grew up, we had a really small computer, just a standard giant screen box things, and even go back to the day of having floppy disks with games and things. So we didn't really have much internet connection or anything like that until I was maybe 10, and even then I didn't really know. I just played games and did things. I didn't really know there was an art community out there, and that I was really passionate, as I am these days. I
think my dad got it was before you got big flatbed scanners. He had this little scanner that scanned 6x8 photographs. So I'd figured out that, you could scan more than photos, I could scan artwork. So I used to draw on 6x8 bits of paper so that I could scan it onto the computer, because it was the only way that I could digitize artwork at the time. And I was just thinking about night when I doodled something and all I got was my phone and I snapped a picture of it so I could put it on the internet. And you're like, it's just completely changed, that's 20 years ago really when I was doing that, but when I used to just draw on these tiny bits of paper that I cut out while my parents were laughing at me because I was very insistent on what size they were so that I could scan things, and I don't think they quite realised what it would lead to eventually. All these little anime things that I used to draw and scan through this tiny scanner.
Yeah, it's got to start somewhere, I mean...
And then I would trace them up on MS Paint.
Yep.
Because, I had no access to anything else, and I'd seen this amazing digital painting and stuff on the internet, and I was just like, I want to do that. And of course I just assumed, because I'd be about 11, so I'd assumed everybody used MS Paint. And then clearly that was the case, because everybody did these wonderful digital paintings with MS Paint, of course.
Yeah, Yeah.
I think it's because it's the program I had on my computer, so I went, oh, that's how it works, and that's how I got into pixel art.
Yeah, it was. I started out in MS Paint. I had no idea there was a bigger digital world out there. I thought everyone would paint it, and it was all traditional. It was interesting because I had a photo, and I decided to paint some bunny ears on us for fun, and I accidentally saved that image and didn't save the original copy of it. So I had pretty much stuffed up that drawing, or that photo digitally, by adding something quite funny, some bunny ears in there. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you feel with your art, do you stay in your comfort zone?
It depends on where I am in kind of my professional cycle, because obviously if I'm selling things or I'm selling an image to somebody because they want a character drawn or whatever, I do stay within my comfort zone, because then I'm selling what I can already do really well. But then if I've got a period of time where I'm not getting paid, I can go really out of my comfort zone and do all kinds of experimental stuff, because that's the period when I grow and learn new things that I can then put back into my professional things. So it's a quite nice cycle. Or if I'm having a really bad day, I just go, let's draw something that I can draw really easily, you know. But yeah, I do like to challenge what I can do, generally by it's what I want out of my artwork. So if I see a really cool picture and I go, I can't do that, how do I learn how to do that? That's when I start challenging myself.
Yeah.
It was probably about 6 years ago now, totaling it up. I did most of my work in black and white because I didn't know how to use colour properly, and all the artwork that I'd seen online that I was envious of used the most amazing colours. So I went on a crusade for about a year of just doing stuff in colours to learn how it worked and how to make really interesting colour schemes, and now it's one of the strongest points of my work. So it is definitely worth taking the time, and you can learn anything if you put the dedication into it.
Yeah, for me, that's the only way I learn, by doing something I don't like doing. Like, I don't like drawing humans, but I just do it. And I find that it helps along the way, because I know eventually there's character design things I can do for people now. I'm not exactly the greatest, but I am, building it up and just taking my time out to make it so. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's I've always categorized it as desire. You either just kind of want something, or you want something enough to actually put the time into it. And it is all right to just kind of want something. Like, I wish I could play the piano, but I really don't want to spend the time doing it. But like, I really want to draw better human figures and all that kind of stuff, so I'll happily draw it all the time, It's just a thing that I choose to put my time into. And I mean, I've got the advantage of that I work professionally as an illustrator, so like 90% of my time I can dedicate to drawing, so I do have the time to do things. I don't have another job or school or whatever, but I used to, and I think it's that time over years that has added up to where I am now. So it's that thing where people go, oh, why are you so good? And I'm like, because I've been drawing exclusively for nearly 12 years now, so that kind of helps.
Yeah. Even like when I was at course, I always took some time out to do my own stuff as well. So,
well, I used to get told by my tutors that I painted so wonderfully. Don't do digital stuff because you paint so well. And I was just sitting there going, but I want to make digital stuff. So there was always this discourse between what I handed in at university and what I did for fun. And it's what I did for fun that I've actually gone and made a career out of, not the stuff that they were telling me to do at university. So it's that kind of thing that sometimes it's, if you can't stop doing it, that's what you're meant to do, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It's like a calling. And what do you think drives this this passion for digital art?
I don't know. For me, it's the way that I can manipulate the colours and get that big flat expanse, and partly the speed, what I can do in an hour and a half. That if I was to get out paints, I can work in a very similar style, but it would take me 2 or 3 days. And especially from a professional standpoint, why would I do something that's going to take me 3 days over something I can do in 2 hours? And then, of course, it comes to illustration in general is reproductive imagery. So even if I was to make a painting, what matters is the thing that goes on the internet or gets printed by the client or whatever, not the original. So I could make the most amazing original, but if I can't scan it and make a really interesting digital copy, then it's a failure as an illustration.
Yeah.
So it's just much easier to go straight to digital, where you're going to see the reproduction straight away.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you feel like you have a good life balance?
Well, that's another question entirely, because I play a lot of sport and I have to stop the sport from taking over my life. So it's more my sport life balance.
Yeah.
The artwork, I kind of, when I started playing sport, like, I was finding myself not drawing as much, and I was like, oh, come on, you've got to get this balance back. So I never used to think about that because my entire life was art. So it's quite nice that I do have the sport, but because it's a team sport and things, there's a lot of organisation involved in that. So I get very, very drawn into that. And sometimes I have to remind myself, you maybe ought to do less of the sport and more of the drawing. So yeah, it's I don't have much of a social life that's not related to either art or sport. So people can make of that what they will. They can say that I have.
Yeah.
I don't have a great life balance, but I enjoy it, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not an easy thing because it's very art life is very time consuming. You have to constantly work on your skills, because if you drop them at some stage, you may never be able to get them back, unless you take your time. You take a couple months again to get back up.
I think I just remember a thing that one of my university tutors told me, because I used to struggle with what to draw, not necessarily my ability, but I would sit there going, well, what am I meant to draw? Because my entire life revolved around drawing things or looking at artwork other people had made or whatever. And they told me it's the things that you do that are not related to art that inform your artwork. So if you don't do anything else, then you make really dull artwork, because the people making interesting stuff are the people out there doing things, going to parties or doing a crazy sport or going traveling or whatever. So that's what made me think, oh, well, you can be more, because there's this message that, oh, you've got to draw all the time, you've got to improve and stuff, but actually my artwork's got so much better the more that I do outside of art, because then you've got life experiences to then go back to my artwork and make something with that, whether that's just having more friends to talk to so they give you more inspiration for things that characters could do or whatever. Because if you're just drawing things from TV shows and novels, it's a less authentic experience than if you're drawing something that your friend said last week that was hilarious. It's it's a thing that I think is often neglected, is telling young artists to go out there and have a life, because
Yeah.
you're constantly telling them, no, stay inside and draw more. But concept is just as important as skill at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There is a thing within digital painting and stuff like that that I tend not to subscribe to anymore, of it has to be the most realistic or whatever. But as an illustrator, I have a lot more room with style and things like that, so I can sort of have a lot more play than I ditched shading a long time ago because I didn't like the time it took, and I didn't like the effects that came out of it in my own work.
Yeah.
The fact that other people can do it and make it look awesome is great, but it's something I ditched a long time ago.
Exactly. Yes, you do. You do need to find that balance of having your own life as well. Yeah, because it's in a. I heard the other day from one of my favorite artists, Bobby Chio, through his course. It was basically, I think I've heard this many times before, I think, but you know, it really clicked with me, is that, you know, it doesn't matter how well you can produce something, it still comes down to the idea. If you don't have a good idea, you know, it's not going to relate to anyone. It's not going to it'll just be some pretty picture that looks realistic, but then who's going to look at it, you know?
Yeah, it needs that that concept, and that's what I struggled with, because when I moved from high school into university, suddenly they were all about concept and I was all about technical skill. So a lot of people go to university and go, oh, I want to get better at drawing, but actually I went to university and got better at ideas through doing a lot of bad ideas over and over and over, and that's something that I value. I look at my university work and go, oh my god, look at it, it's terrible, but I recognise that it's something that I needed to go through to get to the point where I can make good ideas. And you have to learn how your brain works as well, because like there are artists out there that are friends of mine or whatever who make the funniest things that's really weird or whatever, but my brain doesn't think that way. And I used to get really upset, go, well, why can't I make work like that? And then when you realise it's because I make work like me, I have an obsession with history and historical costume and things like that. And when I started to let that feed back into my work, that's when people started to pay attention to it. So I was like, oh, instead of pretending that I'm interested in all this weird stuff that my friends are interested in, then the more I paid attention to stuff that I was interested in, the better my work got. So yeah, it's that balance of knowing who you are and what you can bring to your art that nobody else can. And for me, that wasn't digital painting anymore. I spent a long time thinking I want to do just like the artists on concept art or whatever, but what I was making was just not interesting. And it's when I started to go, well, maybe that's not what you're meant to do, that I started making work that people loved, because I started to make stuff that I loved, much as it's very different from what I thought I'd be doing when I was 15. But, you know, who's doing exactly what they thought they were doing when they were 15, you know?
Yeah. It's a very interesting topic. One of my favourite artists, Gary Baseman, he did a project where he went back to his old family. I don't know if they have like his family books and things like that. And this project was pretty much ripping up, well, kind of getting the book and then painting inside it.
Yeah.
So he'll get inspired by the words or something around what was happening in that book, which is a very those paintings were very interesting, and you know, he came up with interesting and different ideas that I find really cool. So yeah, sometimes getting ideas is a thing you need to practice on, and it's quite...
Yeah, you just kind of do a lot of it, and I think that's where some people panic, is because they do one bad drawing or two bad drawings, and then they never do any more drawings because they worry about that. And I'm just like, if I do a bad drawing or have a bad idea, then you just figure, oh, that's just a bad drawing, let's do another one, you know. And I've never stopped. I mean, I think the thing I've said that has been my biggest advantage is I made a lot of my, as such, bad new artwork when I was a teenager, and teenagers are too bullheaded to know any differently. So I thought I was the best thing since sliced bread when I was like 13, 14, you know.
Yeah.
So suddenly I got through all the bad artwork because I wasn't in a mental place to actually assess my work and know that it was bad. And then by the time that other people started to go, oh no, my work's not great, etc., I was actually quite good because I'd been through all the bad stuff. So I think it's harder sometimes as an adult to get through that because you're more self-aware of what is good and what is bad as such. But you know, I've got beyond that, so now I just have a laugh. If I draw a bad drawing, I look at it and go, oh dear, what did you do? You know, oh look, the legs are twice the size that they should be, what were you smoking? You know.
Yeah.
So it's not that I can't do it, it's just that that particular drawing, or sometimes that particular day, my hand is not listening to my brain right, so I go off and I do something else. Or maybe there's one day that I'm not drawing humans particularly well, so I start drawing a bundle of birds or something like that, because you just have to sort of work around those things. Whereas some people will go, well, that one drawing I wanted to make today is open, so I'm never going to draw again. And it's quite sad that some people let that get to them, really. It's art should be fun, and if it's not fun, then make it fun, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. I had something recently, because I've moved courses from on Schoolism, so they're online courses, and one course is about creatures and the other one's about creatures. So they're both about creatures. One's more focused on learning like the anatomy and just so it's this one here, but the next one is really challenging me because the first task was coming up with ideas, and because I haven't really done many like ideas lately, you know, it's just more like, you know, get this creature and this creature and try and mix it together. It's not exactly coming up with ideas. So it's challenging me, just, you know, creating more better ideas was a challenge for me to get over. It takes a while for me because, you know, I get a project and then I would randomly get ideas there and everywhere. Like, say I'll get an idea in the shower, or get an idea walking home from course. I'll just get a random idea here, there, and everywhere. You never know when you get an idea, and that's why I feel sketchbooks are important. I try and take them everywhere I go, because I usually go for walks and all sorts every now and again. Do you have a sketchbook? And does it play a role in creating
it? I'm terrible for losing sketchbooks, so I don't have one. I have about 20, because I can never find the one that I was working in last. So I just grab the closest sketchbook to me. So around my house, in my sport bag, in my handbag, I have a million different sketchbooks, and they're all filled with all kinds of doodles. My thing is, if I come up with an idea in my head, it will never ever look the same on the paper as to how I wanted it to look. So I don't think too hard. All my thinking is done on the paper, so I might think, like with what you're drawing right now with the elephant and the parrot, I might have a vague idea, but I won't start thinking about it until I start drawing on the paper, and that's when my ideas will actually happen, because you're then making something that is possible to be made. If it's just in your head, it's not always possible to happen, and that's when frustrations happen. So I have like sketchbooks full of just things that don't work. As you said, it's important to have a place that you're not afraid to do that. And as a digital artist, often I sketch and then I just delete the sketch if it's not working, and some people get horrified at that because they're like, you don't save everything, and you know, what if a good idea comes from it? And I'm like, well, if a good idea comes from it, I'll be making it, you know. I will save it because it's a good idea, but I can tell if it's a bad idea, so I'll delete it, and it's not a bit of paper that I've then, you know, got to ditch or whatever. And I was just cleaning out something the other day, and I found this pile of really bad drawings that I just kind of got, oh, I can't ditch these because they're stuff that I drew. But I'm like, no, actually you can ditch them because they're stuff that you've never done anything with, you know. It was just the things that had gone wrong, you know. And I think that's the wonderful thing for me about digital, is that I don't have to waste a load of paper like that. But I have so many sketchbooks, I might as well waste some paper sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I've got piles of them.
It's yeah, I mean, I went to my training on Sunday, and I wasn't participating because I'd just played a game the day before. So I took a sketchbook and I drew everybody else doing sport, and that was quite amazing to be able to still participate in training in that way. And of course, then everyone gets a bit curious because they're like, "What are you doing?" And, "Oh, did you draw me?" and all this kind of stuff. But they were just very quick gestural drawings, you know. That's it's something that you can always sort of bring to everything. You know, some people would get afraid because they're in the motion of running. So, oh my God, how am I supposed to draw someone running if I don't take a photograph so it's perfectly still and things? And that's the challenge, is how do you draw somebody who's in front of you moving very fast and put it on paper, you know, without taking a photograph? Because that's the temptation nowadays when you are doing life stuff, is, oh, I'll just snap a photograph because the photograph doesn't move. But there's a certain challenge in learning to interpret things that do move in front of you and putting them on paper, which I think a lot of people are afraid of, because half the time it goes wrong because the thing is moving, you know. But that's the fun of it for me. So it's great to be able to get photographs and things when I'm doing the final product to get all the reference I need in photography, but to sometimes start the initial idea by looking at a physical thing that moves is quite challenging and fun. And I suppose there's a lot of artists out there who are probably going, no, it's horrific, why are you saying this? But I've always enjoyed the hard things in life.
Yeah. No, it's good. I always go out and try and challenge myself, because a few months ago we lived quite to some sheep, so I go down the road and try and draw these sheep. I never came back with anything that great, you know. It's just, I was just going there to just draw a little bit, do something different, and it's interesting. And now I'm really trying to understand what's beneath that skin a bit more. So when I do go back there, or go back to drawing another animal, like I was drawing a fish one time, I won't have to chase them from one end of the tank to the other end of the tank, you know, with a sketch pad. I will see that image.
Yeah, it's about it's about choosing what it is that you're there at that moment to draw. So some people, it's getting bogged down in that hyper-realism thing again. So people are looking at, like you mentioned, a fish there, so they'll be thinking, I need to get all the fish scales right and stuff. But actually, in that moment, you've got to decide, what is it about this fish that I'm trying to capture? Is it the way the fish moves? Is it a tiny detail like how the fin works or whatever? So you're not trying to get the whole fish in a beautifully rendered pencil sketch. You're trying to capture a small aspect of it. And for me, that's often the overall shape, like a gesture or whatever, because if I do want the details, I can get a photograph at a later date, because the fish is moving, so I can't get every little detail, you know. And again, that's the thing I think people get bogged down with is, oh no, it's not a super realistic, you know, perfectly coloured thing, you know, it's a sketch that I've done in 20 seconds, so I can't get that, you know. And that's what I enjoy about it, is because in my head I'm not expecting it to be amazing, I'm expecting to learn something. So the artwork isn't for displaying or hanging on a wall or whatever, it is purely something that I learned while I was doing it, you know. Definitely. It's not every piece that you draw is to be shared and hung on a wall or, you know, put on your DeviantArt account or whatever, or put on Instagram to get a bundle of likes. You know, that's for stuff that is actually things that I consider art, not stuff that I'm doing just to learn something.
Definitely. I think you should do that often. Like, I don't think I do it enough. I
don't think any artist does.
But I do try. Like, I usually take my sketchbook with me in the afternoons, you know, when I've finished doing digital painting or whatever I'm doing for the day. I'll take my sketchbook and just draw just some doodles or even some animal poses that I see. So yeah, I always take a sketchbook everywhere, usually. Do you think you've had any memorable advice as being an illustrator for so long?
I don't really know, because a lot of the stuff that makes up the core of my being is stuff that's come out of bad advice that I've learned didn't work for me. Like being told not to give up on my painting, or that my work needed to be edgier, or whatever. There was a lot of things at my university where it was like, be more edgy and do something off the wall, and my brain would just sit there going, no, I can't be off the wall. And then when I realised if I embrace the fact that I am not off the wall, I end up making stuff that is, you know, much more me. So yeah, there's been a lot of artwork advice that I've got that I've actually gone, yeah, no, that didn't work at all. But yeah, the general thing is that it's that cheesy, do what you love, but do it better than everybody else. You know, I've been told, oh, but, you know, working as a character artist or whatever, it's so competitive. And I'm like, well, compete. You know, don't be afraid to go out there and go, well, yeah, there's a lot of people doing this. Because, I mean, all you need to do is open DeviantArt and see 1 million people doing it. But I can do it different. I can do it me. I can do it better. I can do it, you know, and just have that gusto to go for it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that missing, to that confidence to just go, this is mine, I do it better than everyone else, so you should pay me. Yeah. Especially for something that a lot of people do, like character art or that kind of thing, is that I do it slightly different to everybody else because of the inherent way that I draw. So the more I do it, the better I get at it, so the more attention you get because you're better at it, you know. There's a thing for a while that you're a bit afraid to do that thing that you love because somebody might laugh at you, or somebody might think it's bad, or just maybe you're just afraid of doing it because you feel it should be hard. Because I went through a period going, this is not hard, why is it not hard? And then I would panic about the fact that it felt like I wasn't working very hard, because it came easy to me, and then you had to go, actually no, it comes easy to me because it's the thing that I love doing, so I should do more of it, not panic about it, you know. So yeah, it's just find that thing that makes you want to draw a lot and draw a lot, you know. It's and like I used to draw a lot of anime style stuff, and I was adamant that, oh yeah, I'm going to draw anime forever and stuff. But then I just started to get bored because the style was a thing that the anime itself was telling me it has to look like this. And I went, why? You know, why can't I do this, or why can't I do that? And I do feel that if you look at my stuff, there is things that I learned from anime and manga, the way that things move or flow, or the way that hair is drawn or whatever. But there's also things that I've learned from every other style of drawing that I've come across and loved. So there's nothing wrong with drawing like anime and manga, and I didn't make a conscious decision to go, I can't draw this anymore because this, that and the other. But I just grew sort of bored of having to draw like that because it felt as restricting as being told you can't draw like that. So yeah, I started to draw more, all kinds of stuff. Just changing it, making it unique to me because it was more fun. Because nobody can tell me what I can and can't do. I don't like watch as much anime or manga as I did either because I've not got the time that I used to. That's the one thing, is if you're a teenager out there, just enjoy the time that you've got now to watch all the television that you really like. When your parents are giving you food and paying your bills, go watch the television. Yeah, because that's the thing I miss more than anything, is having that time to just watch things and not think, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, you know.
Yeah, you got it easy as children, you know. Yeah, I always spent my time trying to do that kind of stuff, watch TV, play games, you know.
But at the same time, I think it was the passion. Like, when I first discovered anime, I'd be about 9 or 10, and it was only aired at like 2 o'clock in the morning on Cartoon Network. So I used to set the VHS to record it and then get up early for school so I could watch last night's stuff. And then now you look at the fact that you could just turn on Netflix and there's millions of it, you can watch at any time. I'm just like, I can't believe that I used to video this at 2 o'clock in the morning and have to get up early so that I could watch it on the telly, because when my mum got up, she didn't like it, so she was like, I am not having that on the telly with, you know, the Japanese voices that she couldn't understand and stuff like that. So if my mum was awake, I couldn't watch it. So I had to get up extra early to watch this. And I'm like, you know, I wish I still had the dedication to something to do that kind of thing. And I don't think, I'm not one of those people who sits there going, oh, teenage anime fans, they've got it easy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know, that doesn't bother me. But yeah, I look back at what I did to get access to watching anime. And when I say watching anime, I just mean like Sailor Moon and Card Captors. They weren't the deep, meaningful things. It was just whatever I could get a hold of. And I think that kind of storytelling has informed what I do now a lot, because it's very aesthetic and fun and light, and that's what I love most. So in a way, the stuff that I was watching was the stuff that I probably would have watched if I had access to everything in the world, you know.
Yeah. It's all about passion. You gotta follow it, because you can't really fight against it, really. But we all kind of, most of us, we start out drawing something we like, or creating something. Like, for me, I love dragons. If I saw them on TV, I'd always go and watch it if there was dragons or some sort of animals or creatures. And then eventually I would be drawing dragons in my time. Like, Spyro was one of the best games in the world when I was a kid.
Yes.
So when I was like, I would say 10, I really got into trying to draw Spyro and those kind of characters that I loved and grew up with. Cool.
Yeah, I drew a lot of animals as a kid, but I'd always wanted to draw human figures, but the way that the Western cartoons were and things like that, it was so hard because you needed to know all that anatomy to be able to cartoon like that. And then I remember seeing a Sailor Moon episode on television, and because it was so simplified with the way that the eyes were and stuff like that, suddenly I was like, that's a thing that I could draw. So I started doing Sailor Moon fan art and stuff like that, and thinking, oh no, I don't need to know anatomy to draw this well, you know. And then it wasn't till later when you realise actually the best anime art has artists who know a lot of good anatomy and things. You know, at the time it was just like, it's a thing that I can draw quite easily. And that's obviously led to me drawing better because you found a thing that you could just do without having to worry. Like, I was a massive fan of like X-Men and things like that, but when you looked at those comic books, they had a lot of good anatomy. Well, not always, but they had realistic style anatomy that at 10 years old I couldn't do. So I just went, oh, I'll never draw humans because I can't draw like that, you know. But anime was so simple that I could easily do that, you know.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me today. It was awesome. So yeah, I was doing Maccawlaphant. So this is
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is part 2. You're very welcome. And as you see, I'll just showing it now. Her work, so you can go check that out. FionaCreates.deviantart.com. So yeah, we'll leave you with that. Pretty much. So goodbye.